Today marks a moment the world will be watching closely. NASA's Artemis II mission is set to send 4 astronauts around the moon, the first crewed journey beyond low Earth orbit in more than 50 years. Joining us now is Jacob Bleacher, NASA's Chief Exploration Scientist. Good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Talk more about this mission. And first off, let's start with the basics, I guess. Artemis II is a test flight. Why don't we start there?
Yeah, our Artemis II mission is a test flight. We'll be launching our Orion spacecraft on board our Space Launch System rocket, which is sitting right out there on the pad now. Our mission will this time have 4 astronauts on board. So those 4 astronauts will ride up into an Earth orbit, and then they will be on a trip out to the moon. They'll fly around the far side of the moon and come back here and to Earth and splash down off the coast of San Diego, and that'll be about a 10-day mission.
Yeah, so talk about that. What are the primary goals of the 10-day mission?
So the primary goals as a test flight are really to see how our Orion spacecraft operates with crew on board. Artemis 1 flew. It was a fully robotic mission. So now we're really testing out the systems with our astronauts on board. But on top of that, we will have a research campaign that really helps set the stage for us moving forward into future Artemis missions.
Yeah, and let's talk about the crew, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. It's been fun to get to know them. Can you talk a little bit more about the roles that they will each be playing and talk more about their training leading up to this moment? It's a pretty big day.
Yeah, it's a very big day. The first time we'll have astronauts on board the Orion here with Artemis II. So we'll be testing out, flying the spacecraft. So the pilots, both Reed and Victor, will be working through how the spacecraft handles, and then Jeremy and Christina will be working through a number of activities on board. They're really going to learn how astronauts will operate within the Orion. So as they go through all the tasks they need to complete, we'll be watching to see how they use the available space to them so that we can think through how to plan missions in the future. And then part of that mission will include several science activities where they'll actually be running some of that science. And then when they're on the far side of the moon, they'll have an opportunity to look back at the moon itself.
Wow.
And so they'll be in a position to potentially see parts of the moon that no other human eyes have seen at that point.
That is incredible. They talk about the base that they're building on the moon. What can you tell us about that? And how does Artemis 2 fit into that kind of the long term goal there?
Yeah, so Artemis 2 is a big step for us, putting astronauts back out to the lunar orbit. But it's really just a step. It's one step among many. And our future plans are to not only land on the moon and come home, but to start building and leaving infrastructure on place on the surface of the moon. That enables us to increase the capabilities we have, and we don't have to carry everything with us every time we go to land on the moon. And so that's really the start of building up a moon base. And ultimately, we'd like to get to a point where we have a permanent presence on the lunar surface, the South Polar region, the same way we have basically had a permanent human presence in low Earth orbit for the last 20 plus years.
Talk about launch day today. Obviously, a lot of people will be watching. What goes into making sure that this actually goes off? Because, there's been a lot of times where there's a safety issue or something that it may delay things. What's going on right now to make sure things go off on time today?
So we're monitoring all of our systems today, but today as the launch day for Artemis 2 is really the culmination of many, many hours, thousands of hours of hundreds and thousands of people working over the last months to years, even to up to a decade, working on these systems, designing the systems. So we've been going through tests for months now, preparing for this. Right now we're not tracking any problems, so we're pushing forward for launch. We're watching the weather, but we'll be watching all the systems as well, and we'll make sure that we're safe if we go ahead and go for launch.
Of course. And for viewers who may not remember the Apollo era, kind of put this into perspective for us. Why is this mission so significant, and what excites you, I guess, the most about it?
Yeah, this mission to me, is significant because it really is the first step towards that permanent presence, towards establishing a moon base. We've been to the moon, but it was really just learning that we could get there and get home. So right now I like to think about this as we're stepping through the doorway of how we'll explore the solar system going forward. human beings learning to live off of the Earth and away from the Earth, that's what gives us the opportunity to start thinking about going to places like Mars in the future. So we're really at kind of the cusp of a new era of exploration.
Yeah, and I think about during Apollo 8, astronauts captured that iconic Earthrise image while orbiting the moon. Tell us more about this. Like, what might the astronauts on Artemis 2 actually experience or see during their journey?
Yeah, that Earthrise is one of the most important photographs ever taken by a human being. And, our astronauts on Artemis 2 will have the opportunity to see very similar views. But I think one of the coolest things is if we do launch today or on the 2nd, they will actually have an opportunity to see the moon eclipsing the sun from their vantage point. And so they'll be able to see the solar corona.
Whoa.
Those are things no one else has ever seen. So they have some unique opportunities in front of them here as we're getting ready to go.
Ah, I am so stoked. Jacob Bleacher with NASA, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for helping us tell this story.